And it was on civil society, many people, who specialize on India, Pakistan, they felt, well, I'm talking about, what is civil society? What do we mean by civil society? Because generally people thought that civil society is a Western construct. It's something very modern. It's something that you attribute to a kind of middle-class culture. And my view was that, all right, modern concept, modern paradigm of civil society is post-industrial, post-enlightenment, middle-class, urban, kind of what you call checking classes. But then you have another kind of civil society. That civil society is traditional. They may be Qadir, they may be Sufis, they may be ordinary people, they may be of the society of their time. And I believe that Pakistan has to rediscover the strength of that civil society. I mean, we talked about the Black Coats, for example, where Musharraf played havoc with Pakistan in 2007, dismissing the judiciary, imposing emergency, and then bringing NRO so that we go higher on this ladder of corruption. All those loans and whatever defaultings were done. I think at that time people realized, and we were, most of us are from Pakistan and have connection with Pakistan, we were deeply upset. We felt very gloomy about our country because there was a war going on, and the war was already spreading to Pakistan's settled areas. And of course, tribal areas were already the Pakistan. But these people, the black coats, the journalists, men and women, they carried out a resistance, a struggle. And they brought about changes in that society, which I think are very important. And I get lots of encouragement. Time is sensitive. Another area that I want to talk about is Islam, for example. Generally, people think that there is a problem with Muslim society. I mean, this is a view which has been, been offered in the 19th century and more so since the 1990s, that Islam, or the way the people practice Islam, is problem. And some people believe that maybe Islam needs reformation, something like what Christianity went through, or reformation, or maybe some kind of intellectual revolution. And we do understand that they're all kind of views. And then people feel that maybe within Islam there is this battle going on between the Sufi version and the puritanical version. I mean, again, it's a very sad reality, and there are different factors to it. More recently, I mean, last week you heard about this bomb blast outside Qadir Farid's shrine. And remember, Qadir Farid, Baba Farid, is not an ordinary person. He was the first recognized poet of Punjabi. And he was a Sufi master. And he was the man who helped the ordinary people. And he is mentioned in Guru Granth Sahib. And Baba Guru Nanak talked about it. So there are these issues. Some people think that maybe there is a problem the way we Muslims perceive or practice Islam. And I think we don't have to be defensive about it. We need to revisit some of those issues that we are confronted with. Many Muslim intellectuals are writing about it. For example, Khalid Abul Fazl wrote this book, this Blood Scream, The Great Theft. In the name of our religion, lots of violence is being committed, and lots of stupid things are being done. It's not because George W. Bush or Tony Blair or Barack Obama or David Cameron, they are asking us to, sort of do this kind of reasoning. But I do feel that civil society has a very important role in not only reaching out to the people who, in countries like Pakistan, who are in a difficult situation, but also civil society has many responsibilities. And one of those responsibilities is to redefine our history, to revisit our pluralism. And pluralism has been part of Indus Valley culture. And I think we need to revisit it. We need to celebrate. We don't need to impose uniformity. And people talk about the state as the only factor or as the major factor. And we delegate all the powers to the state, the people who make the government or run the government. We are maybe yearning for some kind of uniformity, which will go against the very grain of that pluralism, which is part of our historical tradition, our heritage. Whether that pluralism is ethnic, religious, The other area that I feel is very important and worth looking at in reference to civil society is that we do have, I mean, I remember about 15 years ago, I was having a chat with somebody from the BBC, and he said, Iftikhar, many Pakistanis say that Pakistanis do not get enough coverage on the BBC or global media. Give me 4 names of Pakistanis who could articulate views on politics, history, culture. And I said, David, I could give you many names. So David wasn't convinced. And about 6, 7 years ago, I had another meeting with David. I have met David many times. I don't want to give you his last name. He's a friend of Pakistan. Anyway, and he was amazed that there were so many Pakistanis producing such a wonderful literature, fiction, poetry, plays on the media. So when you young people, especially sitting here, hear all these stories that the Sufi mazars are being bombed, there is suicide bombing happening, our frontier is being attacked daily by these drones with the connivance of our state, our government, because they're giving us handouts. And also, and then you hear about this Shia Sunni things. I think we need to strengthen our own belief in our own people, their humanity, their kindness, their tolerance, and we need to be more sensitive. Of course, we need to be more sensitive to their predicament. I'm not belittling the predicament. I mean, some of those realities that you showed us, I mean, the element of poverty, for example. On the one hand, Punjab is considered to be the breadbasket of Pakistan. But again, as you showed us in southern Punjab, poverty is a major issue. Poverty is a major issue all over the country. But at the same time, I think there are, I mean, sometimes I tend to agree with some of the things that Imran Khan says, that there is a kind of informal sector, informal kind of activity, which happens, which helps people locally. I mean, my mother, was a very practicing lady, senior lady, very practicing, praying 5 times, doing the Hajj. But every morning she would go to a Shia mazar, and she would help those ladies who had lost their men, and they were Shia women. So this always inspired me. I can see that difference between Shia and Sunni. My sister was traveling through Karbala, through Najaf, and she went to Damascus. 2 days after she left the shrine of Adnan, there was a blast, and I was worried about her. But she went there, and she's a Sunni. So I think these are the kind of goodnesses that I discover amongst ordinary people, and it's not just confined to Pakistan, in any community. I'm sure people are discovering those things in Haiti as well. Simon Winchester wrote a book, and I'll finish. Simon Winchester wrote a book about 5, 6 years ago, and about caricature. This is the volcanic eruption which took place in August 1883 in Indonesia. Hundreds of thousands, some people say millions of people perished. Something which happened last week, but on a smaller scale. Tsunami happened. The whole society changed. Society became more spiritual, more giving, more charitable. Society also became more politicized. People also thought that maybe they need to redefine their identity. A new kind of political idiom came out. We are Indonesians. We need to have our own sovereignty. And this is how the whole concept of political identity relates. I'm not saying that we need these disasters to wake us up. But I think in the last 50, 60 years, this is a small period in human history compared with industrial history. We have seen lots of problems. My generation, lots of hopes. We always felt that maybe this was a new beginning. And we went through all kinds of tragedies. We saw people migrating, coming, lots of stories of grief. Then we saw wars. We saw the separation of East Pakistan in a very brutal way. 1971, and all those kinds of things that happened in the General Ziaul felt that we were being dehumanized. We saw, I used to read about the dark age, and we saw the dark age in the 1980s in the country, but we have survived. So my sharing with you, especially people from Pakistan, younger people, is that we will survive. But we have to look at the dynamics of those people. We cannot divorce ourselves from those people. And there are lots of good people in those societies, and there are lots of people around, who are there to help us. So on the one hand, these figures and these realities do bother us, do bother me, but at the same time, I don't know, there is an element of survival, there is an element of austerity, there is an element of reaching out to those people. And I don't know, maybe these tragedies in my generation and your generation are the kind of opportunity by default to look at ourselves, what has gone wrong, and how we can make a new beginning. We can always make a new beginning. When I go to the country, I see more and more universities, more and more schools, more and more people going for education, and more people trying to outlive all those challenges, which are becoming more and more enormous. And I'm sensitive to the reality, how difficult it has become for a Pakistani to travel, to go abroad, to study. And it's a double jeopardy because you happen to be a Muslim, and then you happen to be a Pakistani. So my sharing would be that these are difficult times. Maybe our ancestors 6,000 years ago went through those, but we survived and we will survive. But we've got to find bearings within our own humanity and within our own history. Thank you very much.